right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the City Council Subcommittee of the General Government. Today is Monday, November the 4th. And I'm officially calling this meeting to order at 3:02. My name is Springfield City Councilor Victor Davila, and I welcome all of you. Just as a side note, please don't forget, for those people that are watching at home, don't forget to go vote tomorrow. It's an election day tomorrow. In the state and in the country, please do go out tomorrow. And so with that being said, today's meeting, it's in the agenda, we have the discussion of emergency placement of domestic violence victims and the elderly. We are being joined today, as I see here on the monitor. We're joined by Councilor Labart, Click Bruce. Good afternoon, Councilor. Thank you for joining us. We also joined by Councilor Govan, Saida Govan. Thank you, Councilor Govan, for joining us. Also, we are joined by Councilor Tracy Whitfield. Thank you, Councilor, for joining us. We also joined by Roy from the Elders Affairs Division. Thank you, Roy, for being here. We also are joined in-house by Detective McCain from the Springfield Police Department. Detective, thank you for joining us, sir. And we also joined by Senior Domestic Violence Advocate Sarah Henry of the Springfield Police Department. Ms. Sarah, thank you for joining us. Very well. So why are we here today? As we know, we do have an aging population. We also have issues of domestic violence. And it was brought up to my attention that we're having difficulties with placing both of these populations in an emergency situation with appropriate housing / shelter. And so I had a conversation with both Detective McCain and Sarah, and we wanted to bring this to the forefront because this is an issue that needs to be addressed. As we all know, a society is measured, the greatness of any society is measured by how we treat the most vulnerable ones in our society. With that being said, I would like to perhaps start off with Sarah. I believe, Sarah, you have prepared something for us to consider. Then after that, Sarah, we can hear the input from Detective McCain. If I may, I would like to recognize Councilor State Rep Bud Williams, who's adjacent to us. Thank you for joining us, Rep Williams. And so then to Detective McCain, and then we can take any questions. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay? Okay. So at the Springfield Police Department, specifically within the Special Victims Unit, we encounter on average 50 people a year who explain to us that they have no family, friends, or money to assist them for the next 28 to 48 hours to get them to court or to apply for benefits and assistance that they may need. As a domestic violence advocate, I'd like to see a safe location or a temporary shelter that is allotted specifically to our police department for people who come to us on an emergency basis. I do not believe we have the support that we need within the shelter resources that are out there. If this space is not foreseeable, I would like to discuss funds to be used for these individuals to be able to get into a hotel for no more than a week and no less than 24 hours. As I know, we will not be able to help everyone that comes through our doors. It does relieve us from some stress to turn them away and give them false hope. The reason being is we have the nearby resources like YWCA and Alianza, along with SafeLink that covers the whole state, but it's very rare that we are successful with placement. Victims have more options during the day to get help that they need. However, after hours and on the weekends, there's no resources for myself or the officers for temporary shelter. We had officers who come out of pocket to put citizens in hotels for the weekend, and we also do have shelters that don't take children. This program will be specifically for victims of domestic violence, the elderly, and those who find themselves homeless with children. This is a temporary placement for those who are from the Springfield area and have been displaced unexpectedly after hours and on an emergency basis. We have experienced individuals being dropped off to our station from other towns and states, some by officials, and then we're left to find them placement. This program will be catered to individuals who can go through this process independently and do not need any medical or mental health services. There will be three different groups within the facility based on the person or persons who stay, which is elderly, victims of domestic violence, and those who are homeless with children. The stay will be for up to 48 hours or a week-long temporary shelter, a week-long stay for those who have children to give them enough time throughout the week to get the resources that they need. Should I go into?
Oh, yeah, finish. Yeah,
Okay.
please.
We believe, as a team that should this temporary shelter come into fruition, we need to seek the appropriate employees to assist with the operation on a 24-hour basis. The perfect candidates are those who have a working background in domestic violence, housing, social work, and etc. I would like to stress the fact that this facility is specifically for the Springfield Police Department only and is not a dumping ground for outside agencies or other towns or states.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. Sarah, just a clarifying question that they're gonna turn it over to Detective McKean. You mentioned about 50 people a year. Is that 50 people of domestic violence or both?
I would say all three, domestic violence, elderly, and homeless.
I'm homeless, okay. So these are 50 people roughly a year that for one reason or other, after hours on the weekend, they have no emergency shelter they can stay on due to whatever the particular situation may be.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Okay, so that's roughly about 4 people a month
Yes.
or once a week. One a week.
According to our detectives, yes.
Okay, all right. With that being said, Detective McCain, floor is yours. Anything you want to add?
Thank you, counselors, for listening to us today on this subject. So some of you know already, I am in charge of all the elderly for the city of Springfield as far as crime and well-being checks are for the elderlies in their homes and stuff like that. The problem we're having, or that I'm having, is after hours. Yes, we have warming shelters during the day. We have the libraries and stuff like that. But what do we do when a resident calls to say that their neighbor might not have heat? Officers go there, they walk in the house, and there's an elderly lady whose house is colder than it is outside. What do we do with them at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning? So the problem is you call Greater Springfield Services, they say, send the elderly to the hospital. Why would we send an elderly person that has no medical issue to the hospital? Yes, the hospital will see the person. They're gonna ask the elderly what's wrong. Then they're gonna give them a voucher to either go back home or the Worthington Street Shelter. Keith Rome, who we all know is one of the guys that runs the Worthington Street Shelter, says his employees are not capable and not equipped to handle special needs or elderly people. They're not trained to assist with walking or giving meds or any of that, or helping clean themselves up. So obviously the shelter is not a good spot. So these people end up home or they're prey on the street. I have talked to Mayor Sarno. He did said that the city does have La Quinta in case of a real emergency situation. So if something was to come up and an officer calls me at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I can send that person to the La Quinta. The problem is the mayor's staff has not given me how I actually acquire and get in that room that night. So that sort of fell off last year. We already had 2 incidents last month where there's a lady who has no electricity, she has no water, and we got this call at like 9 o'clock at night. So again, what do we do with our elderly? There's really nothing at night. So I've been trying to get with city council and with the mayor and everybody on what we can do for elderly people as far as overnights. And again, more for the people of Springfield.
Thank you, Detective McCain. Councilor Gavanga, I do see you, but if you allow me a quick second, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Detective McCain, quick question for you, my good sir. Does La Quinta allows children to stay?
I don't know, because when I talked to Mayor Sarno and his staff, we were only dealing with elderly. So I'm not sure as far as
That aspect.
the
Okay.
domestics.
Very well. And so if I understood you correctly, even though the concept is approved, nothing has happened because who knows why?
It sort of fell off, so I was not given how I go about getting that room that night.
Okay, and so can you, if I may, then I'm gonna go after this to Councilor Govan. Detective, can you briefly explain to us, one, what happens once the elderly or homeless person for that matter, or a person who has no real need to go to the hospital, what happens in the hospital, how that affects how that impacts the operation of the hospital? And then what happens with the officer itself, because I'm sure that has time consuming for the officers as well. Can you give us a quick feel for why this impacts, the impact is greater than it appears?
Okay. So what happens again, if you did the scenario of a well-being check where a neighbor says the elderly person might not have heat or is struggling. It doesn't have to be the police officers, it can be fire department, it can be AMR ambulance or one of the other ambulance services. As long as it's a first responder, they're basically stuck with that elderly person. If they leave and go back in service, that's abandonment. So obviously we have to do something with them. Greater Springfield Services claims they have a 5-hour response time. So now you're gonna have first responders sitting for 5 hours waiting for somebody to come from senior services. So their answer is send them to the hospital. Us sending an elderly person to the hospital that doesn't have any medical issues basically is just tying up the hospital. So now there's another patient that's sitting in a waiting room, and now the waiting rooms are getting clogged because this lady's just sitting there. She's gonna sit there for hours because no one knows why she's down there. And then when she finally does get seen, and they're gonna say, "What's wrong with you?" She says, "Nothing. I just didn't have heat in my house." They're gonna give her that voucher to either go back home or to the shelter. We send her to the shelter. Keith Roman are gonna wanna send her right back home too. So it's just going in a circle. And it's just revolving, and the person that's suffering is the elderly people of the city of Springfield.
Thank you, Detective McKinney. Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank the officers for bringing this very important topic up. I think it's something that we need to talk about and find a solution for. I actually met with Sheriff Kochi because I'm not sure if you guys are aware, he has a lot of space in Ludlow that is not being used at all. So I talked to him about possible shelter, or something that we can do, because the space is not being used and we have this need. So I was just wondering if there's a way for us to possibly be able to do some collaboration with the sheriff's department. I know that you guys already work with the sheriff's department in other areas, but I think this would be a great collaboration. And I'm not sure what it was that Sheriff Kochi said, but he said that it's a very interesting concept. We could talk to the healthcare, I mean, not, what's the homeless, Friends of the Homeless, and see if they might be able and willing to, like the young lady talked about, staff the shelters appropriately. Even that could be even for domestic violence, it could be for elderly. I think it's something that we need to find a solution for. And I know that you spoke to the mayor last year and he talked about La Quinta, which I guess the city does have, but again, how do you access that? Finding a way to do that. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Those were my comments. And again, thank you, officers, for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Councilor Govan, if I may, before I turn it over to Councilor Whitfield for questions, just out of curiosity, ma'am, are we talking at the main facility of Ludlow, or is there an adjacent building within that location?
No, yes, I'm talking about the main facility in Ludlow. He has a lot of space out there that is not being used. The population in Ludlow is very low. The amount of cells that are being used to hold the guys out there is very low. And I imagine even at Chicopee, the same thing is happening. So us being able to find a way to use that space, I think, is something that would be innovative. I think it would be something that it would be helpful to the community, and they wouldn't be prisoners because they're not, on jail, even though the place is a jail. But finding a way to do that, I think it's imperative that we do that and we do it right away.
Gotcha. All right, thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Whitfield, man, floor is you are followed by Councilor Click Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for the presentation. Great information. I agree. The elderly need a lot of services. Even when it comes to like cleaning yards and certain things, like even just more wellness checks. I do like the idea of the room for them if they're like out of electricity, but how would that work? Would they go to the room for 3 days? We try to work to get them the services that they need and then they go home. Like, I understand, I see the overall concept, but how would that work?
Detective McKay.
So how we had said it with Marisano last year is they will only stay that one business day. So senior services was on board and they says, all right, 3 o'clock in the morning, Mrs. Fletcher goes to La Quinta, 8 o'clock in the morning, senior services picks them up, brings them to their office or whatever, but they start working on them. Then if it's a weekend, they will stay, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. They're out of there 8 o'clock with a caseworker from senior services.
Okay, so if no services are found within 24 hours, what is the backup plan at that point?
There was, well, if it's like a heat situation, I know
Mhm.
senior services has paid for like $50 worth of oil just to get them going for like a week or something like that. And there's also, excuse me, I forgot the name of the place, but right there, Oak and State Street, I have called them sometimes and they'll send people out to look at the elderly's furnace or also help them with getting heat.
Yeah, I think that maybe Catholic
Rise of
charities,
social-
Catholic charities in Forest Park.
I'm sorry, Councilor Whitfield, can you repeat that? You were broken up.
I'm sorry, Catholic charities maybe, but I
Catholic
know,
Daycare.
the Salvation Army also helps with heating. These are just other resources in case you need it in the future. They also help with heating. They'll give a one-time voucher up to 300. One time it was up to 600 and then it dropped to 300. So I'm not really sure what it'll be, but, okay. So they'll help with the heating, but the tenant still doesn't have water. What happens with that?
Well, hopefully, I mean, there's been a couple of times where I've called like Western Mass or Eversource and they've immediately come out because we called from the police station.
Mm-hmm.
They've sent people out to look at, you know, things with the house, stuff like that. Hopefully code enforcement in the city can zoom out there. I know Aaron's been good with coming out also looking at houses for elderly people. So hopefully we can have the resources or a list of numbers of people I can call again for late night to just get stuff going.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if 24 hours is enough time or should 48 hours be a little bit better, because if you're getting someone that's cold, you know, they probably want to get something to eat. They didn't have electricity or water, you know, those services and taking the wellness of the person, I think come first, even if they need a like medical checkup or something. If we don't know how long they've really been in that living situation, and then go into like trying to provide the case management services of getting them everything that they need. So, you know, if you all can consider 48 hours, and Counselor Davila,
Yes, ma'am.
is there a reason that finance wasn't here so we could, so a lot of times we talk about programs and what we want to do, but we don't have the people in the room to make the
Right.
decision. And we need, when it comes to like programs and funding, finance should always like be there,
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
we could talk about different funding sources because we
Right.
do have some.
Right.
So
So,
that's just
Councilor
suggestion from me.
Yes, ma'am. No, I want to get a conversation started.
Mhm.
I do intend to follow up with this.
Okay.
The next meeting we're gonna have, I'm definitely gonna have, finance in the room. But yes, I just want to have a
Okay.
general conversation to sort of like state what the problem is.
Oh,
Just to state what the problem is, yeah.
so just to
Let me know, man.
set the tone. I get you, set
Yep.
the background of it all. I understand. So it's just easier for me if we have less meetings and have the people in the room, because
No, I know.
so if we could like, try to do that.
I follow you.
Is
Yeah.
it Bill Baker?
All right, but that's my final question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, he's supposed to be. Bill Baker is supposed to be working on something also to also get this going. He has not returned the phone call yet, but he has told our commissioner he is trying to get his group of people and get something going
Yep.
for the winter for elderly. And then that would be the nighttime thing is La Quinta. During the day, you know, I was thinking of like, all right, if I have to pick the person up, I can bring them to the Ray Jordan Center. At least there they can get food, they
Yeah,
can exercise, they got elderly to talk with, so things like that for the daytime.
hmm yeah, if they're up to it, that's a good idea and a good place too.
It will be almost Councilor Whitfield, I guess, and Detective McKay, I kind of thinking like, instead of a cooling center, a warming center, the reverse for the winter. And so that's actually that maybe we should, strategize more than the daytime. Identify warming centers throughout the year, throughout the city. Because I know myself, I've seen it, this is a real problem. We do have a little elderly here in the city that are all by themselves. And so, but you have any more questions, ma'am? Councilor Whitfield?
But nope, I said I was all finished. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Clicks, floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Officer McCain. Good to see you again, man. I was talking about you the other day at a Shannon Grant meeting. But really, just because it came, I just want to, before I forget, I think that's a good point, Chair, that you said about warming centers, because we do have cooling centers. Also, Officer McCain, in reference to Raymond Jordan being like a site during the day, really, I like the concept, but I think we need to find a different solution because like we're talking about people that are, you know, abused and or, you know, maybe feeling down or whatever. They may not want to be around a general population. So I think the city should be looking at giving a different location and or site and or a home. We have resources. I just think we need to try to figure it out. And then secondly, Chair, what I'm going to ask you to do is give the mayor's office a call ASAP to find out what our solution is. Because obviously Officer McCain made a phone call in and they're still trying to figure this out it's been over a year, is my understanding. So we have to get some answers for our seniors. Man, this is, you know, these are our seniors that blood, sweat, and tears throughout the city. We wouldn't be where we're at today without our seniors. So I think this is something that needs to be addressed ASAP. We don't have time to play with this, me personally. So I think the idea with the La Quinta is great, but how do we access that? That should have been decided the day of the meeting, if not less, a week later. So again, through the chair, thank you for having this meeting. I'm here to support where I can because I do believe our seniors need our support. And thank you, Officer McCain, and I forget the other officer's name, but thank you as well for bringing this to our attention. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilor Clegg, I will email the mayor tonight on this particular issue.
Thank you.
Attach Bill Baker to it. And I do expect some sort of return correspondence ASAP on
Thank
this
you.
because it's starting to get cold out there. And so that's another problem that we have, you know, people, which people have passed away in the middle of the street during the cold winters. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to echo what Councilor Click Bruce said, that we do need another solution. People may not want to be around other people, but sometimes it takes a bit of time to find those locations. And I know doing it myself, looking for women that has been battered and calling all these places and stuff. You just want to get them somewhere safe and warm for the time being. So maybe just like temporary location until you could find another temporary location for them, just to get them in the warmth and into safety, into a meal. Maybe there could be like some isolated space that's in the senior center that we could even put beds in case they can't like sit up or whatever. But I think just having a few different options and opportunities for our seniors is important. And you know, it's better to have more. And I didn't realize that I missed the Shannon Grant meeting, because I would have never missed that, but some of the meetings weren't on my calendar. So I'll call you directly. Were you the lead for the Shannon Grant detective?
No, I was
Oh, you were just there. Okay. Well, all right. Who's overseeing it?
Is it Shannon?
The Shannon grant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's, usually it's, Sergeant, well, one of them, Sergeant Denault and Sergeant Simmons for
Oh.
what we do, because it's still like domestics and,
Mhm.
gangs, stuff like that, so.
Oh, that's new names. Were you there, Counselor Davila?
no, it was not.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those are just my final comments. Like, more opportunities, more options, the better. But I do like what Counselor Click Bruce stated also. And I also like what you stated, Detective. I think we should just have a plethora of places for our seniors to go, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Sarah, is there anything you want to add to what's been said so far?
I think I'm good for now.
Okay, very much. All right. Roy, are you still on the line, sir?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, Roy, we all collectively, I think, would love to hear your opinions of what you have heard today. And first of all, thank you for being here, Roy. And so can you give us a little bit of a feel, you know, what does the city have available to help in these situations for the elderly and domestic violence in an emergency situation? And just to hear your feedback as director of the Elders Affair.
Well, like we have like one outreach coordinator with the city of Springfield. And what she does is try to go to different agencies to find help for any seniors. Domestic violence is something that's really not on our level, I guess. Most of it is people who has heating issues, or, you know, paying bills and stuff like that. But as far as the domestic violence, we really don't have much experience in dealing with that. We'll try to find places for them in regarding that. But
Right.
look, I can check with our outreach coordinator and try to get more information from her and see if there's things that we can do on our end to assist elders.
Roy, sorry to interrupt you, sir. Just if you allow me for a quick second, Roy. Sarah, with regards to the domestic violence, I mean, the problem is similar but different, right? Do you think the DA himself will be a very good stop on this, a resource?
I do. I have brought this up to victim witness advocates over at the DA's office. But all they can refer us to the first place is YWCA or SafeLink. So it's like we don't have anything else outside of the shelters that are already in place. And they kind of want to pull in their own people. And there's no space allotted specifically for the Springfield Police Department.
Okay. All right, thank you, Sarah. Roy, go ahead.
And also, I think Councilor LeVar had mentioned, or maybe a bit Trace, I'm not sure, I do apologize, about having seniors or victims come to the senior center during the day. Now, as a warming place, I don't think that should be a major issue if that's what, you know, the city would like to do. But for someone who's dealing with domestic violence, I'm not sure if this will be the place for them during the day. As someone has indicated, and of course, we don't have any space for bedding. I know somebody mentioned about that. We have no
Right.
space to place anyone for bedding or anything like that. We can check with facilities to see if they can have someone here after hours as well. You know, for a warming center. In the summertime for a cooling center, it's the facilities department that have someone here up until a certain time, I believe it's like 6 p.m. And it could be also on the weekends as well. The Ray Jordan Center, Elder Affairs, we're kind of just stationed here. We don't run the place itself. We're just kind of
Right.
stationed here. The facility is run by facilities department. But I think during the daytime, we have more control of what can go on here. And I believe that having elderly come here during the day, if it's a warming issue, should not be a problem at all. If someone's here for domestic violence issues, they may just want to be fit in, but like they said before, some may just want to be alone. And I'm not sure if we have people here who can assist them.
Mhm.
They have other issues going on with them, but we can try to work with anyone and try to find a place for them.
Got you. Roy, I do know from time to time when the temperature falls below 0, I believe, and correct me if I'm mistaken, we do open some locations for that night only. Do we have such a thing as a cold weather protocol that we all in sync with, that we all can open up the book and we all in the same page? Does that exist in the city?
Well, I know there is a, emergency preparedness group. I think they have a meeting coming up that's run by Health and Human Services.
Yeah,
You may want to double check with them, because I know a lot of times, people who just are homeless who's out there in the cold weather, if it's below, I think it's like 30-some degrees, they go out, try to find these people that's still out in the streets and bring
Right.
them over to these shelters.
right. So the way I look at it is we got 3 different issues here. We have the elderly, domestic abuse, and homelessness. And each one, although similar, has different issues. Roy, anything else you wanna contribute?
That's all I have for now. Like I said, there is a emergency preparedness, meeting, I think, scheduled coming up soon. I can get that information and forward it to you.
Yeah, would you email me, please?
I
On
can
that?
get the information.
Yeah, email me and all the councilors, please.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah,
I have nothing on that.
Detective McCain, go ahead.
So, like the counselor just said about the weather dropping -30, the shelters have to let everybody in. So when it gets a certain temperature, they have to take everybody that the police department or anybody brings to the shelter. Again, the problem is, well, for me, with the elderly, is no one's going to be able to take care of that elderly. Yes, the elderly can sit there, but the chances are her bag's gonna get stolen, her IDs are gonna get stolen. She's not gonna get help going to the restroom. She's not gonna get help getting in and out of the bed. So that's where my issue comes in.
Okay, so
We all know these places are there during the day, but what are we doing at night? And who's gonna be there for
Right.
these elderlies?
right, excellent.
So one of the other things I had thought about is, maybe if there was a house or something that the city owns, say a duplex, and you let the kids of Putnam fix it up, and then there's a master key, and then if an elderly person had to go there for the night, you call one of the school nurses, give her a little overtime to sit with that lady, and in the daytime, you lock it up with the key code that just the city has the combination to, and they can only stay there to the next business day.
Excellent. Thank you, Detective McCain. Roy, just last question for you, then I'm gonna turn it over to Councilor Govan. So just to be crystal clear, Roy, you saying that we could use the Ray Jordan Center during the daytime as a warming center, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that would be up to Health and Human Services, in the mayor's office, if they choose, they're the ones who select, like what the
Yeah.
food centers are, so they will be the ones who will select for the
Gotcha.
warming center as well.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Roy. Very kind of you. Councilor Govan, man, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I did want to touch on, I think Sarah is the young lady's name, and the problem with domestic violence and the domestic violence shelters in our area. There is basically no space anywhere if you have a domestic violence victim who needs immediate care, like right now. I've made some calls when, people have come to me. So I think that's a really big issue that we need to address. And is your name Sarah? Am I saying it right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, through the chair, Sarah, so what you're saying is maybe to get someone in there for the night and then have someone else deal with them in the morning, or is that different from what the detective is saying?
So for the domestic violence victims, it's more so of, maybe it's a Friday and they come and we ask them, you have anywhere safe to stay for the night? And the answer is no. A lot of
Right.
people have that issue, or they don't have money to go to a hotel or anything. So we want to be able to put them somewhere for the night, or maybe for that weekend, so they can get to court on the morning, and then they just have to figure that part out.
Okay, thank you for that. So, I feel like there's developing, I want to say, a little committee to make this thing work, because I love the detective's idea about getting a house to have it so that when the officers need it, they could just bring someone there. I don't know, I'm sure you guys know about the living room at BHN, Behavioral Health Network. So they have a living room. So something like that where people could go. It doesn't need to be staffed probably 24/7 unless there's someone there. So I don't know if there's something that we can all maybe sit around and talk about and figure out how to make this happen, because it has to happen, especially now, it's getting bad. I hate that they're telling you to send the seniors to the emergency room. That doesn't make any sense at all. But unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do, right? Homeless, when people are homeless, they say they're told go to the emergency room, you'll at least it'll be warm in there, so these problems, they're not going to get solved on their own, and I think we need to be working on them. So I'd be happy to work with you all. I'm thinking of the neighborhood councils, right? The churches, they have rooms, right? They have space, and a lot of them are only open on Sundays. So what are they doing the rest of the week, especially at night? They're not using their spaces at night. So maybe having a cot, and like the detective said, if a senior has to go there for the night, I like the idea of having a school nurse or one of the nurses from the health department be able to sit with the person at least overnight until the issue gets resolved in the morning, or they have services to go. They could go to Greater Springfield Senior Services in the morning and figure out what's going on. I'd be glad to be part of any committee or group that is helping with this, helping to figure this out. And again, I can't stress enough the opportunity, I think, at the sheriff's department, because the space is
Right.
already there, it's already ready. All we need to do is put somebody there. Thank you,
Right.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you. I kind of dropped after Roy spoke. And I did want to just comment on a couple of things.
Sure, go ahead.
I understand that we don't have space now, but when it's budget season, that's the opportunity to start writing in some of the things that we want to see in the future. Even if we get on the capital plan, we got to think beyond what we can't do right now. And when I was talking about the elderly going to the senior center, it wasn't more for the domestic violence side. I was talking more for the elderly that's not going through an abuse situation, that heat or water or something may have been turned off if they want to go. And I'm pretty sure a room could be carved out for them, because I've been in the senior center many times, and every single room in the senior center is not filled throughout the day. And maybe carving out a little space where someone can go sit and just relax, even if it's a reclining chair. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bed, but there's creative ways that we can make things happen. And so I'm always looking for solutions, like Councilor Govan and Councilor Click Bruce have mentioned, and Councilor Davila, as far as like what can we do. I like to look at what we can do as opposed to what we can't do. I know we do have limitations. I know there's budget restrictions, but we could start having these conversations more, and creating plans, like Councilor Govan said, to make some of these things happen, because we can come to these city council meetings and talk about them until we're blue in the face and nothing still will get done.
Right.
So I'm just glad that we had the opportunity to hear about what's going on. As far as the domestic violence victims go, I think that we do have an opportunity to even partner with the sheriff's department and partner with the DA's office, because I'm sorry, ma'am, I forgot what your name is.
Sarah.
Sarah, talking to the victim witness advocates and talking to the DA himself is two totally different things, right? The DA is going to make whatever we need happen, while the victim witness advocates are going to say, yeah, we can't do that, and we're just going to send them here because they're just following the rules that they're told. And so I think having a conversation with the DA, the sheriff, and others to see how we can house them, because I have been dealing with domestic violence victims this year more than ever. And if what are they called? The YWCA wasn't a part of the C3 meetings where I had a direct connect, it was the hardest thing to get them someplace to go. The hardest thing ever. And these people are being abused, but because I know them, a bed always opens up. So when you said you made a comment for their people, I agree with you there also. Who they want to put in there for the people they want to put them in there is true. So I definitely understand about the space. I don't want to be on any committee, but I would like to get updates and give more feedback where I could fit in. But I don't want to
Absolutely.
necessarily be on any committee, but I'm always here to listen and to give suggestions if you ever need it.
Thank you.
And to advocate. Now, I will advocate on the city level, but we need those people right here at the table. So I'm very anxious to see what the mayor's office and Bill Baker has to say once Councilor Davila reaches out to them, and then we can go from there if we need to do more advocacy work. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Just gonna do a quick time check. The time now is 3:42. Sarah, Detective McCain, is there anything you want to add? Anything that you feel like we should know before we finish the meeting? Any other thoughts?
No, I just want to thank everybody for giving me the time to speak to you guys, putting out my thoughts out there just as the detective that's responsible for all the elderly in the city. And hopefully we can have answers. Like I said, maybe the school that gives them something to do, makes the kids happy. They fixed up a house for the elderly. Or like they said, the sheriff's department, that's fine too. We just wheel them out there, but there's a lot of elderly out there that when the cops come, they feel they're being bothered. I don't want to be bothered. You guys got more things to do and stuff like that. And the problem is once we're there, we're there. So we sort of own it. And obviously we want to take care of them at the same time. So like Bruce said, we just want to get it done quick. Try to get answers ASAP.
Absolutely. Sarah, anything you want to add?
I also just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to what we have today. This is passion work for me, so I do stand behind everything that I'm saying, and I hope this doesn't stop right here.
Excellent. Any other councilors, any final thoughts? Roy?
If
anything?
I may, Mr. Chair,
Sure.
this is
Go ahead,
Councilor Govan again. I'm so sorry I'm talking a lot out today. I don't know why.
Okay.
But I really appreciate, especially if detective, you're in charge of all the seniors in the city. I feel so much, compassion for our seniors. And like Councilor Davila said in the beginning, society is going to judge us by how we treat our seniors. So we need to be especially mindful of how we're treating our seniors and how, they need the help. And like you said, sometimes they're just maybe too proud, or they're thinking, oh, they're not that important, but we need to take care of them. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. And again, I would be willing to sit with you all, find some agencies to sit with, to get the sheriff's department. I love the idea of having the DA there. So definitely we need to continue this conversation. And Sarah, I agree with your passion work that is done when you're doing this kind of work. That's what it is. It's a work of passion and it's out of love that we do the work that we do for our community. So again, whatever I can do to help, I'm here. And thank you for doing the work that you're doing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you, Councilor Govan. So I am going to, in terms of action items, the short-term action item, I will be emailing the mayor tonight. I'm going to be asking him about one La Quinta. I see that as a short-term solution. It's a very short-term solution because I'm sure we can do better. And even if we do place them there, what happens thereafter is the follow-up, like you guys mentioned before. And also I'm going to be talking to him to together identify along with Commissioner Carlton, warming center throughout the city. I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. Maybe we can use, we know that we could use the Ray Jordan, which is a cooling center. Maybe we can just take the cooling centers and just turn them into warming centers. And in Forest Park, I recently, with the help of the mayor, upon my advice, we opened the Forest Park Library as a cooling center. And so that could be in Forest Park, used as a warming center as well. And so those two action items, the warming center identification throughout the city, one in every neighborhood, and La Quinta situation. And if you don't mind me, to my colleagues, I would love to hear your feedback. I do believe, I think it was Councilor Whitfield and both Coban and of course Councilor Lavar, created some sort of a group of people smarter than me to tackle this. because there's many onion to there's many layers to this onion, right? And so I think we need multidiscipline.
Mhm.
This is important to me as well, to all of us, of course, that's why we're here. And so this is something that simply stated cannot fall through. People's lives are
Mhm.
at stake here. I've seen people die of hypothermia.
Mhm.
I've seen people die because of drug overdose, and they die because of the elements. They're drunk, they fall asleep. I know I see the detective, I'm sure you've seen them as well. And so it hits home. And so those things, right now, let's concentrate with the mayor. I will reach out, Councilor Govan, maybe if you could have that connection with the sheriff and sort of.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, do we want to maybe, and not necessarily this general government committee, Mr. Chair, but maybe with Sarah and the detective, and we can invite some other folks like the sheriff's department, sheriff's office, and the DA or something. We could all sit around, ask the mayor to join us and find some solutions, some immediate long-term solutions that we can do.
Absolutely.
I would challenge us to schedule a meeting pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I will, I'm gonna schedule a meeting in December on this issue as well. I will make that commitment to follow up. Please email me with any suggestions to my colleagues and Sarah, detective as well. And Roy, please, feel free to join us, jump in. Sounds good, Roy?
Oh, yes, I will be definitely involved in the meetings.
Thank you, Roy. So if nobody has anything else, no? Going once, going twice?
Just
Nope.
don't forget finance.
Can,
Just
No,
don't forget
absolutely.
anything
Yeah.
with finance. I'm willing to be on that part of it.
Okay.
That part of the working group or whatever.
Yeah.
But don't forget to
so
involve.
that's what I was gonna
gonna-
say, Councilor Whitfield. If we could schedule maybe a working group meeting for this topic, like say 2 weeks from now, right? And invite the sheriff, see if there's an opportunity that we could immediately address the issue. And then continue meeting going forward and maybe finding that house that the detective was talking about and then getting the students involved, but doing something, getting the working group going so that we could, start the process of finding the solution.
Excellent.
After Councilor Davila finds La Quinta solution for now.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I just wanted to, because it wasn't mentioned again, I wanted to re-mention finance, but
Definitely.
better for me than 2 weeks. Just throwing that out there. So I agree with Councilor Davila on wait until December, even if it's early December, because 2 weeks is just a lot going on. Then Thanksgiving is coming up in 2 weeks, or two and a half weeks. So early December, Councilor, is better for
My
me. But
commitment is to have one more meeting before the year's over, that's for sure.
yeah, one more.
Yeah,
Yep.
one more meeting to be over, work on the short-term solution with the mayor, which I'm sure he will respond to us. And then, for next year, it sounds like we have a work cut off as well, because, we're gonna be over winter and then we go right into summer. Which
That's
could be
right. That's right.
equally as dangerous as winter.
And there could be a plan happening. Like I
Absolutely.
like all the solutions you guys throw out there, so I'm not gonna talk anymore. Thank
Very
you.
well. Thank you very well. In that case, if nobody has anything they want to contribute, it is now 3:50. I thank you, all of you, for joining us. If you, the people watching at home, if you do know of a particular situation, if you know of somebody elderly who needs help, if you do know of a domestic violence person who is in need, please reach out. You can reach out to the city council office itself. And I will mention that number. I should know it by heart, but I don't, I'm sorry. The number here at the city council office is 413-787-6170, 787-6170. And you can ask for Councilor Davila, or any councilors according to where you live, and we're glad to help you. Detective McCain, is there a number you would like to give people who are watching at home they can contact if there is a situation that they feel identified with?
Yes, you can actually call, I have a department cell phone. It's area code 413-237-6784. That's 413-237-6784.
Thank you, Detective. Sarah, is there a number you would like to give out to people watching at home?
I can give my work desk number, which is 413-735-1510.
Will you say that again?
It's 413-735-1510.
Well, thank you, everybody. Now, the time is now 3:51. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good day.